Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. We are doing a part 2 of week 3, Building Self-Worth. We had to cut it short last week just because it was running a little bit too long. So we're going to finish that up today. I want to reintroduce myself just in case you're new. My name is Alexis, and I'm with my co-host, Gabby. She will be chiming in every once in a while. We will be discussing together. She's more talking about the mom aspect, and I'm more of the teenage aspect. So to continue on with this, I also wanted to thank everybody who signed up from our last video. We have 5 new subscribers, I believe, or people that have signed up. So I appreciate you guys for listening. And to get into today's topic, we are going to start with boundaries. This is still in with the self-worth. So we covered our negative self-talk, and then we covered compassion. Now I really want to talk about boundaries. We will get more into depth in the next few weeks with boundaries, but I kind of want to touch on it when it comes to self-worth. A lot of people don't know what boundaries are. So I want to give it to Gabby because she explained it the other day of what boundaries are that I really liked, kind of. It's the pin where you're in a pin. Yes.
Okay. So I kind of described last week how boundaries, I think we often think that they are about manuals that we put on other people in a sense, but actually boundaries are for us to stay in our own fence and in our own lane. And it's a way for us to take care of and protect ourselves. And in motherhood, they're not just about discipline and control. It's about having clarity when you're parenting.
Mhm.
And they tell both mom and child, this is what we stand for in our home.
Yeah.
So,
It kind of goes along with what you value.
yes.
Goes along with boundaries too.
Yes.
And it's not just, I like how you said the other week, it's not just putting rules on people.
Yep.
It's to maintain yourself,
Yeah.
to keep yourself in check.
Yes.
It's for yourself. It's so people don't take advantage of you. A lot of times when we are so used to saying yes to everything over and over again, we can burn ourselves out.
Mm-hmm.
We can tear it. We just, even though it may not be in a situation where they're trying to take advantage of you, sometimes you have to be your own person to be like, hey, this is too much. I need to take a break, or whatever the case may be. Just something simple like that. And having no boundaries when it comes to self-worth is a big, big part to self-worth, I think. I think it's another foundational thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they do tie together.
I love how you brought up rules.
Yeah.
Because I kind of forgot about that. But
Yeah.
I was going to get into it a little bit later, but I kind of feel like it fits right now. But I love thinking how rules are more of the what in the relationship, and the boundaries are the how.
Yeah.
So they like reinforce our rules. The rule in the house is that we don't yell.
Right.
But in my boundary to back that up is, hey, we speak kindly. And if we're going to yell, we're going to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. Just having that system set up of what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
And how to handle situations. And even anger. Yes. Anger's one too when it comes to boundaries. Sometimes when we have something like road rage, we may tend to want to follow that car and talk them off, but that's when we reel ourselves in and have the boundary. Hey, I'm not going to let this person take my energy for the day. I could put that towards something. If I'm so passionate about it, you put it towards something that's more healthy or something. Write a book. Write about it.
Yes.
Something like that. And boundaries are tricky. They're very tricky to even understand, I think, for a lot of people. But I kind of see boundaries as a form of self-respect. when you have that self-respect, you acknowledge your self-respect, you're less likely to let you're less likely to let those people take advantage, whether they're doing it in a cruel way or not. And even in motherhood, like the self-respect as a mom, you have to have boundaries with your kids as well. I can't talk about it
Yeah.
very
No,
much
you're
just
right.
because it's not my
Yeah.
criteria.
Like,
But
I think especially as, well, I don't even want to say just in motherhood. Like, yes, I think when you become a mom, things inside of you just change.
Mhm.
You have a different perspective of life.
Yeah.
But a boundary is just clear on what you're going to stand for and in your home, not only for yourself, but for your child too. What you're going to surround them with, what you're going to expose them to. And I think, like, I don't know, like, it just kind of goes back to clarity, having clarity. And when you have that, I think that especially in motherhood, that boundary helps us to lead from a vision versus like reacting,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. It's kind of something that's there, something that's like implanted in your brain, kind of. You just kind of like act it out a little bit more.
I think, like, also like a similar perspective, maybe like, you're someone in school, like, say that you set the standard for yourself, like, I'm going to go to whatever school, I don't know, Stanford or whatever, Stanford.
Yeah.
And your boundary for yourself when you're in school is going to be, I'm going to get good grades. I'm going to like take part in like extracurricular activities, etc., to set yourself up to get into that school. And so, like, your boundary for yourself is going to be like having to balance like your friendships and stuff. And whereas in motherhood, it's like, okay, I'm going to start taking a look at like my childhood or like how I was raised and start questioning, I guess, like, do I want that same path for my kid? And what can I take from that resonates with me and leave the rest?
Right.
And then I'm going to create rules and boundaries in place of how I'm going to show up for my child and myself. Right. I guess I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It goes back to everything is a choice. You know?
Yes.
It's your choice. That's something that you set up, and it's possible because you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that's confusing with boundaries, and something that can also be a little bit fun with boundaries is there's no really necessary like rule to it.
Yeah.
Because they're yours.
Yes.
They're nobody's. They're not a reflection of anybody else.
It almost goes, back to your values and morals.
Right.
Yeah.
And along with having boundaries and setting things up like that, you need to also have some sort of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You can have those boundaries in place, but those boundaries can be crossed, and accountability doesn't have to be there, and it's just kind of pointless to have a boundary in the first place.
Absolutely.
Those are kind of like a weak boundary. It's just kind of having a boundary, but letting it be like an open gate, kind of choosing when it works and when it doesn't. That's not a healthy boundary. That's a weak boundary. It's confusing. It
doesn't bring for motherhood, like kids especially, like, love predictability, and that is so important. And so having that accountability, like, no, every night we brush our teeth, and they just know that that's going to happen. Every morning we get up, we get dressed, and we put our clothes on, and that's all predictability. But if you have that weak boundary and you let that slide, and you maybe brush their teeth 3 days in a row and then you don't, like, they don't know, like, it creates unsteadiness for them.
Yes. And like a student perspective, I could set up a system where I have my whole schedule planned out and I have to do it my work these days, or I'm going to be totally stressed out on these days. If I don't keep myself accountable to those days and I'm like, I don't want to do it, I don't feel like doing it right now, I'm going to get on my phone instead, that sets me up for failure. And it makes it easier for me to do the same thing the next week.
And then you feel urgent, like everything is urgent and chaotic, and you feel like you're losing your ever-loving mind on life because you're not having that self-discipline, honestly.
Right. And like I said, it all comes down to it's your choice. That's where you have to take control because it is your self-discipline.
Yeah.
And everything. Like moms, they can choose, not to be a mom, not to be the best mom they can be.
Yeah.
But what was I didn't know how I was gonna finish that thought. Anyway, moving on.
Think actually, as you said that, a couple questions that I have for you guys, especially if you are a mom, when I need to kind of rethink some of my boundaries, because as you get into different stages of having a child, sometimes those boundaries have to change a little bit.
Right.
And I always go back to these two questions. What kind of mom do I want to be? And what kind of home do I want to create? And I think those are so important to think about, because it not only boundaries not only help your kids know, I guess, right from wrong, but then they just will live it out, live the values and morals that you instill in them out. There is no okay, we need to be kind today. Yes, there is, but there will just come a day when your 4-year-old knows your boundaries because you started them when they were 1-2 years old, if that makes sense.
Right, and you kept that gate closed.
Yes,
there was no room for
buffering.
Negotiation.
Yes, no arguing, no back talking. This is my boundary, and you don't have to yell or be reactive about it, but you just, this is my boundary. We aren't going to cross it.
And one thing I want to add is the sentence, you are the product of your environment. And that kind of goes hand in hand with parenting.
Yes.
Because what you are most definitely will reflect what your kid is, because you're an inspiration to your kid. You're raising your kid. You're all your kid knows.
Right.
So how you are is most likely how they will be.
Yeah.
And so that's where you also, as a parent, need to have boundaries for yourself.
Correct.
Not just for your kids. It's boundaries go everywhere. Everywhere. It doesn't. In every situation, I can think of a boundary, honestly.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's where I kind of want to go on is where in your life do you struggle with setting boundaries? Is it with your friends, family, or work? And how I would answer that is I think I struggled the most with family. Yes. The family boundary, just because your family, they can do it because they're family. I only see them once a year, so it's okay. Things like that. But it comes to a point where, I'll give an example. I had a family member who would always, we were like buddy. I put that in quotation marks. And she wanted me to take her everywhere, but we were doing it together. We weren't doing good things. We were just, I thought we were best of friends, okay? Doing it together, but it was like every hour, hey, can you take me here? 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 And it got to a point where if I said no, I felt awkward. It'd just be uncomfortable to say no.
Yeah.
How could I say no when I already took you this many times?
Right.
And it got to a point where a situation happened, and that's where I had to step back. And it's like, hey, they're not trying to be buddy. They're trying to get a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that kind of situation where, even though they're family or they're friends or whatever, does not mean that it's not good for you. It's not benefiting me.
Right.
It's not doing good for me, even though they are my family and they are my friends. And that's where I have to take a step back and be like, hey, this isn't doing good for me. Even if they are giving me gas money, it's not convenient.
Right.
It's not a benefit to me. And that's where you have to step back and kind of set that boundary. I can't take you anymore. It doesn't even really matter the reason. I can't take you anymore. And that's that.
And from the motherhood perspective, actually specifically co-parenting, I struggled in the beginning, especially like after my divorce, like shortly after. I never wanted to feel like I was holding my son from his dad. And that was like a huge guilt. And so I would just accommodate to his schedule and everything. And at some point I was like, you know what? This has to be a boundary. And my boundary, my sentence to myself is, in any given situation, how am I going to show up? And when I get that text, that last minute text of, hey, I want so-and-so, but he didn't want to say anything in the beginning of the week. Like, I was like, sorry, we have plans.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're going to co-parent in a way where we're not going to just do last minute things.
Right.
And it was hard because, and it goes back to predictability. Kids expect predictability, and especially in a co-parenting relationship.
100%.
Oh, so I'm going to see dad this week, but not next week or the week after or the week after.
Yeah.
And then one day I'm just going to see him. No, you're either going to be present with him and pick the days that you want to be present with him, or we're just going to have to, my next boundary would be go to court.
Right.
Because something isn't working.
Exactly.
So, it was hard because I felt that guilt. Like, I don't want to cause a fight between us. But once I put my boundary down and it was firm, it's been nothing but respect since. So, like, he knows where I stand. I know where he stands. It's clear for the child, and that's that. And if he decides not to show up one night, okay, fine. Like, that's on you.
Right. And it kind of gave me like, if you see that gate open, even if it has a no trespassing sign, it's easier to walk right through because the gate's open.
Yes.
And that's why we need to have that firm boundary. You can't expect people to know your boundaries, because that's where I struggle with too, is expecting people to respect certain things. And some people don't even see it as respect sometimes.
Correct. Yeah.
But to me it is. And that's where you have to communicate, hey, if this doesn't happen, or if this happens, this is what I have to do. Or something along the lines of that.
And sometimes, like, and in co-parenting, going back to that same question, there were times where, that co-parent wouldn't want to discuss things on the phone. They'd want to yell. And my first thing is hang up.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang up. If they try to call me back, I'll answer. We can either discuss about this or we're not talking about this. Like, so the first time my boundary was, I'm going to hang up. Like, there is no verbal warning, because that's my boundary for me. They don't have to always know. And at first it's going to be like a shock, like, oh, what's happening?
Yep.
And then the second time you call me, I'm going to lay my boundary out. Right. You violated that. Here's what's happening.
Right.
And you can make the choice.
Right. So that's a perfect example of a boundary.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
I want to go into our next question just because we are cutting a bit on time. How does it feel when your boundaries are crossed? And for me, a lot of it, especially like with kind of playing with boundaries when I first kind of got to know them, I was angry. Anytime anybody crossed the boundary, angry.
Yeah.
Because I set this up. I told you not to do that, and you did it anyway. It just, it shows respect, especially when that boundary is set and it's set correctly and it's set clearly and it's clearly crossed. I think anger is like a normal response to that.
Absolutely.
But one thing is, if somebody is continuously crossing that boundary, a good boundary, a good accountability to that is we're not going to hang around that person anymore. Yep. That person's crossed that boundary. We're not hanging around that person anymore.
I think, like, for me, especially with the co-parenting, it was very, very frustrating.
Yes.
Because I almost felt like I was being put in the middle of something, and to have to explain that to a child of like, oh, why am I not going to get to see dad? And it's just like, well, what do I say? Because you don't want to show up as a parent. So like, it was really frustrating. And so I think going back to accountability, you got to address those things quickly. Like, it's something that you have to be very proactive about, because if I continue to let it slide, there would have just been resentment that built up between like me having it towards him. And that's not healthy either, because then that creates a place for me to be reactive versus proactive.
Exactly. And those situations are harder too, because even if boundaries are continuously to be crossed, it's not as easy as, hey, I'm not going to be around you, because it's co-parenting. You have a kid together.
You don't get to say that.
No, not at all.
No.
Which is a whole different ball game. And that's why you're here.
Yeah. I think also when it comes back to this, the other thing I was going to say was to not let those things mean something about you. Like the guilt that I had. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to tell my son that like his dad doesn't want to see him? But that means nothing about me as a parent, as a mom. And that really doesn't mean as much as I do want to say, like, that's a crappy parent to not want to see your kid, but I don't know his reason. He didn't give me a reason. So I think just also reminding yourself, like, you can choose to stay neutral, and you can choose to make it mean something about you. And you can also make, when you're setting boundaries, whether it's with yourself or your kid, it's truly from like a place of loving and not like going back to the control or fear or anything like that.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add too with the boundaries is I have a little story about it. So one time I had this cousin, and this was when I was a little younger. Anytime she'd come over, we knew, okay, guys, hide your stuff, because this cousin loves the perfumes, she loves the jewelry, she loves the makeup. And this particular time, I just didn't remember, okay? I just didn't put my stuff away. And, you shouldn't have to worry about those things, especially in your own home. But, I knew her antics. So she comes over and she leaves while I'm outside. She goes inside to grab something, and she's getting in the car. And I go inside to check my room real quick. Perfume's gone. So I had to run out and say, hey, where's the perfumes? And it was just this whole big lie. And this happened numerous times. And it got to the point where we had to actually put that accountability forward and say, hey, you can't come here no more.
Yeah.
Letting those things continuously happen just because they're your friends or just because of your family doesn't give it excuse to happen. It shouldn't happen. And I think boundaries are all about just kind of protecting that peace that you have.
Yeah.
It's your peace. It's your choice to have that peace, and they're your boundaries. They're your fence.
Yes, they're your fence.
They're your fence.
They're to keep you in your fence.
Right.
And I think a fence of like, you don't want to show up to a relationship and be reactive, because nothing happens good when that happens. It just turns into a fight, turns into he said, she said. And that's where I think it's just like, if you want to get stuff done in your life and move forward, you need to have healthy boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our last question is, what is one small boundary you could start practicing this week? And I put on my paper that I have in front of me, what does this say? Sharing super personal information. And what I mean by that is sometimes, like when you're in a relationship, I think the relationship one is a big one. When you overshare some things, some people take that and they run with it and they don't keep it private.
Yes.
And they share it to one person and they think that that's private, but then that person shares it to another person and they think that's private. And it's just a whole whirlwind of gossiping. And what I've learned a lot is it's not that I don't share super personal information because I think everyone's going to gossip about it. I just it just keeps my peace. I don't know how to explain it. And sometimes information like that can be can give you anxiety, anything like that. And that's where a good example of where you put that boundary. Hey, I'm not going to talk about it. Simple as that. Because you don't have to.
Right.
It's your choice. And if that's something that makes you feel better for the day, then it's something that makes you feel better.
That is like playing the game of telephone.
Right.
If anyone's played that game, then you know from when you start and when you get to the end, it is not the same.
Right.
Sentence.
And that's where the anxiety is like, hey, if I tell you this, what is it going to end up being like?
Right.
So those things I had to learn not to just completely stop talking about your problems. You obviously need somebody to talk to. Like if you're close with your parent or you have that really trusting friend or family member that I share super personal information with. But
I think
it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Definitely not for everybody.
And I think also like in motherhood too, something that I had to learn was that not all your mom friends need to know what your child is struggling with.
Yeah.
Because they will take it and be like, oh my gosh, your child should be XYZ. And when we start shooting how people's kids should be or how they should live their life, like that can really create shame.
Yeah.
And
it's like an achievement war.
Yes, absolutely. And so I've really had to learn, like, hey, if my son is struggling with this, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And there's not all the mom friends need to know. And I don't know about for you, and especially like in my going through my divorce or just really hard times in marriage, and even in co-parenting, I had to find my one person that I could trust with all my dirty laundry. And it ended up obviously being a therapist at the time, but now I have one really good mom friend and I can solely trust her. And I'm like, hey, I'm going through a hard day. Like, I need some help.
Yeah.
Is this normal? But so that's kind of how I, like, my boundary for myself that I created was like, okay, I'm going to keep all this information to one good person that I trust. And I know deep down, like, I can trust her.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. That's it.
Yeah. And there's no really like specific guideline to boundaries.
Right. Yeah.
There never really is. It's just there's no rules, there's no set standards. It's just you kind of have to test the waters a little bit.
Yes.
And put things where they need to be and learn how to recognize things that aren't good and put that boundary and take accountability when it's needed, like when a boundary is crossed.
I think that was the hardest for me learning boundaries is there is no right or wrong, I guess. And sometimes when you're thinking in black and white terms, because I used to be very big in that, that's where boundaries were hard for me. But that's how I learned, like, rules define the what of you, like what you want, and boundaries create the how so that you're just living that out.
Right.
So.
Yes, I do love a good boundary talk, but we have gone 30 minutes and I want to do my closing thought, which is a nice quote like I did last time. And that's, you don't have to earn your worth. Just start treating yourself like you already have it. And that kind of goes with the boundaries. Like you said, you put the rule and you live it out with the boundary.
Yeah.
Start living it out like you already have it. Put it to situations. It takes practice. It really does.
Yep.
But the more you do it, the easier it is. Hey, I didn't like that. Can you not do that again? Simple boundary,
Yep.
Small boundary, but it's not just that. They can go anywhere. But
if you struggle with worth, something that I started with, and this might sound crazy, but I would stand in the mirror in the mornings, raise your hand up high, and just tell yourself, my worth is always up here. Your
Yeah.
worth never moves up or down. It's always 100% all the time.
Yep. No matter what kind of day you're having, no matter what
what.
pimples on your forehead,
Yep.
it's always up there.
Yes.
And next week, we're going to be closing off on some of this. I don't want to completely stop talking about self-worth, but we're going to kind of close some of this off. So I want to do a little bit more in depth next week, closing everything off, getting a really good discussion in. But I appreciate everyone who is listening today. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I don't.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone for listening, and I will see you next week for week 4 of self-worth.
If they have questions.
If you have questions, feel free to ask. We have our thumbnail uploaded, which it does have our email for any Q&A questions or any concerns that you might have personally. So go ahead and check that out. Wednesdays, we will have a Q&A live that we will be doing, answering some questions that you guys have asked. So again, I appreciate you guys for listening, and I will see you next week.